Good morning, my name is Mariana G. So, in the United States, there is a Eurocentric ideal where features such as a thin nose, light skin, and light hair, straight hair, among other features, are preferable. So, an athlete, Serena Williams, is a very famous Black female athlete. And in this quote, she states if they want to market someone who is white and blonde, that is their choice. And she was referring to a list of marketable athletes where she was ranked below Maria Sharapova, who has less achievements than her, where the only difference between them is that Maria is white and Serena is Black, while Serena has more achievements. So if this affects an established athlete such as Serena Williams, how does this affect the majority of Black women in the United States? So to what extent do Eurocentric beauty standards in the 21st century affect body image and cultural issues in Black female communities within the United States? So Eurocentric beauty standards in the 21st century negatively affect body image and cultural issues in Black female communities within the United States. They perpetuate negative stereotypes, they hypersexualize Black women, and they contribute to internalized racism within the community. So stereotypes include the mammy, the matriarch, and the Jezebel. So the mammy and the matriarch are opposing views of a Black mother, where the mammy is seen as someone who enjoys taking care of white children, being subservient to a white family, while the matriarch is an overbearing and a strict and dominant mother on her own Black children. So an example of the mammy that is still in our society today is the famous Aunt Jemima flower brand, where, as you can see in the image, where the brand started in 1889, which clearly shows the mammy stereotype and how it has evolved over time to be less obviously racist, but still having those undertones of the mammy stereotype. And the third stereotype, the Jezebel, is a Black woman who is seen as openly sexual and very lewd and promiscuous, which leads to the hypersexualization of Black women, which has consequences such as higher sexual assault rates among Black women. So more than 20% of Black women are raped during their lifetimes, and this is a report done by the Institute for Women's Policy. And the National Center on Violence Against Women in the Black community also reports that 40 to 60% of Black women report being subjected to coercive sexual contact by age 18. So the part of this statistic that is reaching off to a different branch is the part where it says by the age of 18, where it is referencing that even Black girls and women, or Black girls who are under the age of 18, are still hypersexualized. So this can start in schools specifically, where girls who are curvier and more developed often end up being punished for their body types, and across the country, Black girls are 5 times more likely as white girls to be suspended in schools. So in schools, they are punished for features or clothing that's not inherently sexual or meant to be sexualized, especially on young Black girls. And so they are taught to criticize and shame their own bodies. And this can lead to them feeling shameful of their own features, such as skin color. So in the media, there is a term called whitewashing, where a Black celebrity, in this case Beyonce and Gabby Sidibe, their skin is being lightened for media purposes, where in Beyonce's L'Oreal ad, her skin was lightened, as you can see on the left, by several degrees, as well as on the right, Gabby Sidibe, in her Elle magazine, where she was being featured for being a notable woman in her 20s, her skin was lightened also by multiple degrees. And so when Black women, but especially Black girls, see in the media lightened skin or Black women with lightened skin, they begin to compare themselves and begin to internalize that to be in the media and to be considered beautiful in society, they must have lighter skin. And so they become insecure of their own Black features and other traits, which turns to alteration of Black features such as hair, which is part of a Black woman's identity, where Black women have resorted to the application of sodium hydroxide and other chemicals that relax or perm their hair and use tools such as hair irons or hot combs or a combination of both to alter their hair to be more straight. So Black women are changing their hair in order to fit the ideal white standard of having straight hair. However, a limitation to this observation is that not all alterations to their hair is to be more white or to appeal to the white standard, because some women put their hair in protective styles and will use wigs or lace fronts in order to let their hair grow and be healthier. So to assume that all Black women change their hair in order to look more white is also appealing to the Black women appealing to the white standard. So a counterclaim is that there's a recent popularization of African American culture and there's increased diversity and representation within industries. So popularization of African American culture, there is a natural hair movement that is encouraging Black girls and Black women to wear their hair naturally and to wear their cultural hairstyles, and fighting against legislation that would prohibit that. There's also increased diversity and representation in the beauty industries, where people like Rihanna have made a brand on creating inclusive foundation shades for women of all skin colors, including dark-skinned women, which are usually excluded. However, there is still discrimination in the workplace for having cultural hairstyles, such as Destiny Tompkins, who was a former Banana Republic employee who was told by her manager that her box braids were unprofessional. And there's insufficient inclusion within the beauty industry with darker shades, where there are companies such as Tarte and Beauty Blender, which are very controversial for mainly having white shades and having a large variety of white shades, but not many darker skin shades. And with this popularization of culture, there becomes issues with cultural appropriation. While the Kylie Jenner lip challenge in 2015 isn't an example of cultural appropriation per se, it is taking a feature of Black women that they are mocked for, and there are entire characters and cartoons for mocking this feature on Black women, and making it into a trend and making profit off of it. So Kylie Jenner has her lip kit and her Kylie Cosmetic brands, which is estimated to be worth $900 million in 2021. And this is profiting off of plumping lips, which is what she claims her lip kits do, which is taking a feature that is made fun of on Black women, and yet when a white woman uses it, it is seen as something beautiful or an attractive feature when it is still made fun of on Black women. So with cultural appropriation of hairstyles, to be specific, on the left you see Amanda Seyfried, and on the right you see Fergie, who have both worn box braids. And there are two main issues with wearing box braids, is that one, there's cultural significance to the Black community, and two, it is not made for straight hair and it can cause scalp issues and also cause hair to fall out. So when women who are not part of the Black community wear these hairstyles, they're often praised and it's often seen as appreciation. Yet when women who are part of the Black community are wearing their own culture, it is seen as unprofessional and they are hated for it. So a resolution would be to educate on Black culture in schools and African American culture, and to highlight the influence that African American culture has had on society in music, in style, in clothing, and just overall. For parents, the second point is for parents to teach their children respect and cultural awareness, and overall just being respectful of other cultures and other people. The third point would be accurate and adequate representation, especially in the beauty and media industries, where there is no alteration of features or skin tone, and their brands are more inclusive of darker skin and darker shades. So with these resolutions, they are idealistic, where to say that years of systemic and societal oppression against Black women can be solved simply by awareness and education is simple-minded. Yet it is a step towards diversity and a more diverse and inclusive society. Any questions? Or what questions do you have?
I do have two questions for you. The first question, How valid and reliable are the sources that you use, and then how do you know?
Sources that I've used that are reliable, I would say that my sources are reliable mostly because I use I use statistics from organizations that focus on violence against women and violence against Black women specifically. Also, I used a quote from a psychologist who mainly focuses on uh, the Black community and how stereotypes and racism affects them. And I used a quote from her to talk about how Black women alter their hair and how that um, affects them mentally.
Okay, and if you had more time, what additional research would you have conducted on this issue?
If I had more time, additional research that I would have conducted would be to see how trans Black women are affected by these stereotypes, and more into how trans Black women they are affected by these sexual assault statistics, and mostly just including trans Black women in this topic.